2015 Longmont City Council session to order. This is a regular session. Could we please start with the roll call?
Yes, Mayor Coombs.
Here.
Council members Bagley.
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Finley.
Here.
Levison.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Santos.
Here.
Mayor Coombs, we have a quorum.
Okay, let's stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anyone wishing to speak at first call, public invited to be heard, will need to add his or her name to the list outside the chambers. Only those people that have signed up will be able to speak at first call, public invited to be heard. Speakers who do not place their name on that list will have the opportunity to speak during the public hearing items this evening, or at final call, public invited to be heard on any item at the end of the meeting. So next we have the March 31st regular session minutes. Councilmember Finley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I move approval of the March 31st minutes.
Second. Okay, let's vote on that. Okay, that passes 7-0. Valerie, are there any agenda revisions?
Mayor Coombs, there was one document that was submitted after the agenda went out. It was for agenda item 8A. It was a correction to the ordinance, and so that ordinance will need to be substituted before you vote on it.
Okay. Is there a report from the city manager?
Yes, Mayor. Karen Roney is going to introduce a new staff member.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Karen Roney. Here you are. I'm the Community Services Director for the city. And on your council agenda item tonight is the agenda item to approve the neighborhood improvement grants. And we don't really have any need for you to pull that off unless you have questions. But we thought it would be a great opportunity to introduce Wayne Tomac. And he is our new part-time neighborhood resources specialist, and between Wayne and I, we are covering for John Clark as we hire a new community neighborhood resources manager, and we are in the process of doing that right now. So I did want to introduce Wayne. He is a PhD student at University of Colorado in Denver. He's a Skyline High School graduate, so he's a Longmonter who has done other things and has come back to Longmont. So Wayne worked previously at the Renewable and Sustainable Energy Institute at UCD, and also worked in New York for Sustainable Long Island and the Queens Economic Development Corporation. So I did want to just take this opportunity to introduce to you Wayne Tomac. And I don't know, Wayne, if you want to say anything.
Honestly, I'm excited to actually have a chance to kind of give back to Longmont, the place I grew up, and now I've returned after being away for a long time, and also really excited about continuing the really good work that John Clark has done for years in the neighborhoods in Longmont. Thank you.
Welcome. So we have a couple of proclamations. Let's see, the first one is a proclamation designating April 2015 as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in Longmont, Colorado. And we have some board members here to accept the proclamation. I'll go ahead and read it first. A proclamation designating April 2015 as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in Longmont, Colorado, whereas Parkinson's disease is a progressive degenerative neurological movement disorder that has a unique impact on each patient, and whereas there are more than 1 million Americans diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and an estimated 17,000 Coloradans are living with Parkinson's disease, and whereas the cause of the disease is unknown, the cure is not yet determined, and standard treatments do not stop the progression. And whereas increased education and research are needed to help find more effective treatments with fewer side effects and ultimately a cure for Parkinson's disease. and whereas a multidisciplinary approach to Parkinson's disease care includes local wellness support and caregiver groups, and whereas it is important to recognize the effects of Parkinson's disease on the citizens of our city and state so that we may gain a better understanding of their needs and bring about greater hopes for cure. Now, therefore, I, Dennis L. Coombs, Mayor, by the virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim April 2015 as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in Longmont. And I invite all citizens in the community to support those with Parkinson's disease in hope that a cure will soon be found. So please come forward. If you'd like to say a few words at the podium, you're more than welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Tom Hubner, and I'm the head of the local Longmont Parkinson's Support Group. And Longmont Parkinson's Support Group would like to thank you and the City Council for recognizing April as International Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month and helping us bring awareness about Parkinson's to the public. We'd like to thank the Times Call for their outstanding reporting they did on Dr. Jaramillo, and we have Cheryl Seaford, the Executive Director of Parkinson's of the Rockies, in attendance tonight also, and we appreciate their continuing effort in helping us with their outstanding programs and educational materials. We also would like to thank the National Associations for materials that we distributed at the farmers market, and millions of dollars they contribute to research grants to help find a cure, and hopefully that'll be within my lifetime. We also like to thank Longspeak United Methodist Church for making space available on a monthly basis for our group. Our Longmont Parkinson's Support Group has over 100 people on their roster. We distribute over 200 newsletters in 7 states each month. And at our last meeting, we had almost 60 people, and we had 9 people here that were here for the first time. Parkinson's is a disease where 60,000 new people are diagnosed every year. It is the second most common neurological disease in the United States after Alzheimer's. A new person is diagnosed with Parkinson's every 9 minutes. So when you're done with your meeting, there will have been a dozen people that have been diagnosed with Parkinson's. Today alone, there will be another 164 people who have been diagnosed, and their lives will be changed forever. Not only will the patient be affected, but so will a care partner and family members. There are 5,000 people with Parkinson's disease diagnosed every month. There are currently as many as 1.5 million people with Parkinson's disease in the United States, and over 17,000 in Colorado alone. And this number may be a little bit low due to poor recognition of symptoms and undiagnosed disease by medical professions. As we continue to live longer, Parkinson's disease is expected to increase significantly, doubling by the year 2030. 1.6% of the people of the age of 65 will be diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and men are 1.5 times more likely than women to get Parkinson's. The average medication cost is $2,500 per year per person. The average, that was drug cost, I'm sorry. And the average cost for medical treatment for Parkinson's is $22,800 per year. This cost is expected to double by 2040. Although Parkinson's is not fatal, complications from this disorder are making the 14th leading cause of death in the United States, and still there is no cure. The goal of the Longmont Parkinson's Support Group is to make as many people aware as possible of Parkinson's disease and its implications for our community. We are the face of Parkinson's disease, and we thank you for joining us and helping us raise awareness. We appreciate your time.
Well, we appreciate you being here in our community and being part of our community and coming to this council meeting and making us all more aware. So let's thank you, Tom, and can you come forward and we'll get your take? Or would you like to make your remarks? Would like to start to speak? Yeah, go ahead.
Which way you going?
Well, we usually go in the center.
Okay, we're going to do a couple of them, okay? Here's the first one. Here we go. Okay, so there's another one. Great, thank you.
The next proclamation is designating April 2015 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Longmont. Naya Wasink is the Executive Director of Voices for Children. CASA will accept the proclamation. So I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. If she's here, she can come on down to the podium. Would you like this? Well, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation first. A proclamation designating April 2015 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas the citizens of Longmont recognize that children are our future, and whereas children who are abused and neglected need intervention, support, and advocacy, and whereas court-appointed special advocate provide such support and advocacy while working to end the cycle of abuse, and whereas child abuse prevention is everyone's responsibility. Now therefore, I, Dennis L. Coombs, Mayor by the virtue of authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim April 2015 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Longmont, and invite all citizens in the community to support this vital program. So thank you. Would you like to add a few words?
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor Coombs, and to the City Council for this proclamation and for allowing us to share a little bit about what we do. Our CASAs, luckily you don't have to spell out the whole acronym. Our CASAs are volunteers who support abused and neglected children in our community as part of the court process, making sure that their needs are met by a large and complex system. We would love to put ourselves out of business by making sure that prevention efforts work, by intervening sooner, by providing families the supports they need to provide safe homes to their kids. And we think that everybody does have that responsibility, whether it's as simple as helping a mom that's struggling in the store with 3 small kids, to stepping up to volunteer with a program like CASA to provide this kind of advocacy. So we thank you. We thank the City of Longmont for allowing this. And as a recent Longmont resident, I am so proud to live in a place like this that really values children. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That's what I do. Okay, now it's time for public invited to be heard. The first person on the list is Al Gord. Go ahead. Go ahead and state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Alfred Dworak, and I live in Longmont. I'm from a group called Youth of the Earth, and First, before I explain what Youth of the Earth is, I would like to explain how I got on it. So, sometime around maybe September or somewhere around that, they had made a student council rule saying if you had served a term last year, you cannot serve another the year after that. So I thought, what should I do next? And that's when I came across Youth of the Earth. So we are a group hosting an Earth Day event at the Boulder County Fairgrounds exhibit hall on April 22nd, Earth Day. You may know what we are, although you might not know who we are and what exactly we are doing. So we are a group that has people from ages 7 to 17, and we are organizing an Earth Day event ran by mostly youth. Our purpose is to educate people about the Earth and its environment. Everyone is invited, however, the microphone will be available to youth only. We will have 33 youth booths and 36 environmental booths. We will also have a birthday surprise for Mayor Coombs.
Wow. Yeah. It's a surprise.
Not my department.
I'm not going to tell anybody how old I'm going to be.
Before I finish, I would like to remind everyone that the event is at the exhibit hall at the Boulder County Fairgrounds from 4 to 7 p.m. on April 22nd. In other words, Earth Day.
Well, thank you. John Gregerson.
Oh, I'm taller than Alfred. My name's Joan Gregerson. I live at 1011 Hover. And tonight I am here to talk to you about superheroes. I was just talking to these guys about who their favorite superhero is, whether it's Batman or Iron Man or Storm. And I just want to remind you that you actually have the ability to be a superhero. When you think of those epic tales where the earth is in danger and a superhero steps up and saves the day from big evil, so corporate greed, consumerism, it's the same story, just with different players. And just pausing there, so we had 6 of us come on January 20th that asked the council to pick up and start working on a sustainability and climate action plan. And at that meeting, it was agreed to direct staff to do so. In March, when we checked in with staff, they said, oh, we haven't been directed to do so. And I was also advised by one of the staff, you know, I don't think you should really use the word sustainability. So in the meantime, Lyons has passed a sustainability plan. The city of Fort Collins has passed a climate action plan where they have a plan to be carbon neutral by 2050. And the Pope is a superhero who is, and I was raised Catholic and it didn't take, but that I am listening to what he's saying, that this is a moral imperative, that to understand what climate change is and to teach people about it and to act it's all linked. So inequality, climate action, and moral imperative are all together. So I am hoping that you guys will take up the charge and be a superhero. My favorite superheroes, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Ralph Nader, and just I'm voting for you as my superhero.
Thank you, Joan. Alan Seaman.
Yes, thank you. My name is Alan Seaman, and I live at 1800 Atwood Street. I've got a question and maybe a comment. The question is, the land at the proposed hospital that's going on the corner of 119 and the County Line Road, does that have to be rezoned? Because, pardon?
Yeah. We don't, this isn't a question and answer.
Okay,
type
because,
forum,
all right,
basically, but,
We'll get you the answer.
yeah.
All right, because if it's yes, let's not have history repeat itself. Some 40 years ago, the city council with all the real estate agents had an idea that the osteopathic hospital that was on the corner of Kimbark and 9th Avenue was going to build north of Lanyon Park. I'm from Long Island a long time ago. And so that it had to be rezoned for multi-story and high density. And it got that way. And right after that would happen, the hospital went over to the Longmont Hospital, and that's where the name United came from. Longmont Community Hospital and then the Orthopathic Hospital. That became United Hospital. So if the zoning has to be changed on the land, let's put a clause in that says that if the hospital doesn't come, then it goes back to what it was. So that maybe it might have to be zoned to high level or something, and if the hospital doesn't come into effect, then it's free to be whatever. So that's my statement.
Okay.
Will that be answered tonight about the rezoning? Oh, excuse
Yeah.
me. I'm sorry.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Richard Myron.
Good evening. My name is Richard Myron. I live at 2448 Dodd Lane in Ward 3. I just wish to express my thanks to the mayor and members of the city council for looking into, and the Parks and Rec staff for looking into the fee restructuring of Union Reservoir that has now gone through, been prepared for you, and the disabled veterans. Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Stan Toll. One.
Hello, my name is Stan Toll, and I'm a longtime resident of the city of Longmont. What I'm going to bring to your attention is this fiasco that we've had last week in our court again. This was a person, a long-time person who has been doing windshield repairs in the city of Longmont, and he's been a victim of one of the ordinances that were put in the city of Longmont. Is basically one of the anti-Mexican ordinances that were put in, sort of like at the time when Longmont got rid of some of the blue law, some of the, what they call the sundowner laws in town. What went on here is that Raymond asked for a jury trial. Now, some of you who have known me, I've come up here, I fought this court about jury trials, myself and a woman by the name of Betty Rexford. When we filed complaints about no jury trials in the municipal court, we were retaliated against. Betty, who happened to have been a disabled person, had her Social Security. The judge herself personally sued Betty Rexford, and she sued myself. Betty Rexford actually had her Social Security stopped by that judge, simply because she didn't want to have jury trials in her courtroom. Now, what's going on here is that the civil rights were being violated. The city prosecutor actually should have been disbarred for not protecting civil rights in that courtroom. Now, you can't do anything about the judge because of our American system, but the city attorney, part of his job was to protect the civil rights of people in that courtroom. If he had been in county court, he would have got disbarred for this sort of stuff and for this stuff that he's been doing for a number of years. But since the municipal court is out of the regular judicial system, he's getting away with this. This is incredible abuse. And people like me, I've actually been subjected to other stuff. Stuff like my vehicles being towed and no charges being brought. Things like some of the other Mexican type, anti-Mexican things like, well, if your vehicle's parked for 24 hours in one spot, we can go after you. The junk vehicle ordinance. This community needs to stop this. And we need to protect the civil rights of people in our courtrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Strider Benson?
Greetings, Mayor and Council. I'm Strider Benston, 951 17th Avenue. Sorry for being overdressed, but I have to look good. I'm going to be on the radio in Alabama tomorrow morning. So, I know a lot about Stan's case, and I certainly support him in this particular one. And I had a dear friend who recently died of Parkinson's disease here in Longmont. She's a lot younger than me. So that's major. I'll be right back. I know my time is running. And the Earth, yeah, the Pope, I honor highly Pope Francis for being concerned about the survival of life on this planet. Let me go to the national side. The Cold War was just declared over about Cuba, 55 years of our trying to starve the Cuban people. I want to read you something from the proceeds of the 35th Air Force Academy Assembly, where I was elected rapporteur, and I carried one proposal through, and I'm reading you from the final delegates report, U.S. Policy on Latin America, of 27 February 1993, and I quote, "The embargo on Cuba. The United States embargo on Cuba should be ended at once. The long-term advantages of advancing political and human rights reform in Cuba by assisting the process of economic reform outweigh the disadvantages of appearing to approve Castro's policies." So this was approved by the U.S. Air Force Academy Assembly 22 years ago, and it finally made it all the way to the president. Maybe that'll lower the heat of the world right now. But then again, we have an issue with Iran. And finally, we got a deal, a very scrutinized deal that we might be able to carry out and lower the threat of a nuclear war. but there are forces in this country and elsewhere who want to have a war. I'll quote one thing from the CEO of Lockheed Martin, a woman. She said someone confronted her and said, well, what about this deal with Iran, this peace deal? Won't that mess up our profits? I'll be quick. She said, don't worry about it. We have got enough turmoil in the Mideast to where we can keep producing anyway. Pay attention. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that ends public invited to be heard. Now it's time for our ordinances on second reading.
And Mayor Coombs, your first item is ordinance 2015-21, a bill for an ordinance amending Title 15, Chapters 15.04, 1505, 1510, and Appendix B of the Longmont Municipal Code concerning wireless telecommunications facilities. Ben Ortiz is here to talk about the changes to the ordinance.
Mayor, members of council. Sorry. Thank you. Mayor, members of council, my name is Ben Ortiz. As you know, we've been doing updates to the Land Development Code regarding the wireless telecommunications to bring it in line with technological changes in state and federal law. We did uncover two errors subsequent to the last presentation. The first is that there was a reference to Chapter 16.06, the International Residential Code. It should have referenced Chapter 16.04, the International Building Code. And this change would bring it in line and make it consistent with the remainder of the code. The second was the word batter, and in the definition for small cell facility, and that needs to be changed to battery. And since I made an extensive presentation last time, I have nothing further. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that you have.
I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing on ordinance 2015-21. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance? I guess seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Santos.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I move that we substitute the revised ordinance.
Okay, I'll second that. Let's vote on the substitution of the revised ordinance. Okay, that passes 7-0. Councilmember Santos.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I move ordinance 2015-21.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. That passes 7-0.
Mayor Coombs, your next item is ordinance 2015-22, a bill for an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the water supply agreement with Hunt Feed Yard Incorporated. And there is no staff presentation on this item.
Okay. Any questions from council before I open up the public hearing? Okay, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing on ordinance 2015-22. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance? Seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 2015-22. Councilmember Finley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I would like to move we pass ordinance 2015-22.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. That passes 7-0.
Mayor Coombs, your next item is the consent agenda. Item 9A is ordinance 2015-23, a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations for the expenses and liabilities of the City of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2015. Public hearing and second reading of the ordinance is scheduled for April 28th. Item 9B is ordinance 2015-24, a bill for an ordinance approving the rebate of development-related fees with Wyland, Inc. Public hearing and second reading of the ordinance is scheduled for April 28th. Item 9C is resolution 2015-25, a resolution of the Longmont City Council amending fees for Union Reservoir Recreation Area. Item 9D is resolution 2015-26, approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and Boulder County, the cities of Boulder, Lafayette, and Louisville, and the town of Lyons, Jamestown, and Nederland for the Boulder County Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Collaboration. Item 9E is approve the 2015 Neighborhood Improvement Grant recommendations, and staff would like to pull items 9B and C for short presentations.
Okay. Councilmember Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I move that we pass the consent agenda minus B and C.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's vote on the consent agenda minus B and C. Okay, that passes 7-0.
And item 9B is the rebate of the development fees, and Sean Lewis will introduce this.
Mayor Coombs, members of council, Sean Lewis, Assistant City Manager. We have Jessica Erickson and Wendy Knapsiger here tonight with us. Both of them have worked on this agreement along with various staff members within the city. Jessica, we passed along some of your questions and comments from today and this week to them, and Jessica is here to make some comments about the agreement.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs and Council. As Sean mentioned, I'm here this evening to present a request for the rebate of development-related fees and taxes associated with the proposed Wyland project in the Clover Basin Business Park. Wyland is a direct marketing technology and database services company that is proposing to build a 90,000 square foot facility on 15 acres just north of the Seagate facility to consolidate and expand operations currently located amongst several facilities in Niwot. The project would bring with it 143 existing Wyland jobs, as well as create additional jobs in Longmont that pay an average annual wage significantly in excess of the required 105% of the Boulder County annual average wage, which is $57,000 per year. The new jobs would come to the city as a result. The new jobs that would come to the city as a result of this project do fall in line with the advanced Longmont targeted industry of professional services and IT. And the attraction of these types of jobs is a critical component of Longmont's approved economic development strategy. Does someone have a tissue by any chance? I have allergies. Thank you. In addition, the anticipated expenses associated with the building and equipment represent significant long-term capital investment in the community, and Wyland has expressed, thank you, their commitment to long-term continued operations in Longmont should they choose to locate here. It is my understanding that Longmont is competing with other communities in both Boulder and Weld counties for this project, and that the availability of incentives is a key factor in their ultimate decision to locate their project here in Longmont. Wyland is requesting that council approve a rebate of 100% of eligible development review-related fees and city sales taxes. The proposed project does meet all of the rebate eligibility requirements as identified in Longmont Municipal Code. The intent of the proposed tax and fee rebates, estimated at $260,428.63, is to encourage new development and quality new job creation that meets the city's stated economic development objectives. For this reason, the Longmont Area Economic Council supports the approval of the ordinance as presented. And I would also like to mention that Phil Wyland, CEO, and Mike Gaffney, CFO, are here this evening in support of the request as well.
Great, thank you.
With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Levison.
Thank you. I just want to clarify something that I read in the packet. So we have a 2-year period where they're going to build the facility and ramp up the jobs, and then there's another 3 years past that performance mark that the jobs have to be maintained for another 3 years, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So it's a total really a 5-year span.
Yes, that is correct.
Great.
And there are clawback provisions in place should that not be met.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Santos.
No questions, Mayor. I see this as a great opportunity for Longmont, so I move ordinance 2015-24. Excuse me.
I'll second that. Oh, I guess he beat me. Councilmember Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I just have a couple questions.
Sure. Okay.
We talked earlier, and so my question is, what revenue does the city receive? We have a perfect example here. We have two twins. Okay, company A is in Niwot, company B is in Longmont. Okay, so assuming that I understand that if people are coming to Longmont, there's an added economic advantage, so to speak, as people shop in our new mall, as people shop in downtown, etc. But if one is on the other, just outside Longmont, and one is inside Longmont, based on their revenue, what advantage is there to Longmont?
Specific to the project itself and the development of the project itself, as I mentioned, the rebates would be associated with eligible development fees. There are additional development fees that would be required paid by.
No, that's not what I'm asking. Like, for example, sales tax.
Yes.
I know some of the answer. I'm just fishing for it. So, so like, for example, sales tax would be one. If they have a building in Niwot, Boulder County gets the sales tax.
Right.
Correct? Or not the sales tax, but the property tax.
Yes, property tax.
If the building is built in Longmont, we get part of that property tax.
Exactly.
Correct? So what other types of things like that could the city foresee in the future, in addition to property tax revenue?
Sure, and we'd happily do a full economic impact analysis. Did not have the time to do that in this situation as of yet, but happy to do that. But some things that we'll typically see are the direct daytime sales tax generation, revenue generation in the community where the jobs are located is increased by the jobs being actually located in that community as opposed to a neighboring community. So we'll definitely see that direct benefit. The company is also projecting to create additional new jobs, and as part of the incentive agreement, they have committed to trying to fill those jobs with Longmont residents as well. So we may see the positive impacts of job creation for Longmont residents as a result of that, assuming the available labor is here in Longmont. So those would be the two primary, in addition to the property tax, and then the ongoing investment that the company makes in equipment. So business personal property tax, sales and use tax associated with purchases beyond the period of the incentive agreement.
Excellent answer. And so my final question is, so how many employees do they have now?
143.
Okay, and then they, in the promise is, or the agreement is that they've got to keep that 143, or it's doubling?
No, the agreement is that they have to keep the 143, for that those 143 have to be located here in Longmont within 2 years of the agreement date and maintained here for another 3 years after that. Wyland has also stated that they will be creating additional new jobs that on their own would qualify for this incentive based on the requirements of the incentive currently, but because the 143 jobs are net new to the community, those were enough to trigger our ability to offer the incentive.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay, let's vote. The motion's been seconded. Okay, that passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Mayor Coombs, your next item is the resolution on the fees for Union Reservoir, and Kim Sugar will make a brief presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kim Sugar, the Natural Resources Manager. We're here tonight on this item in response to a request to waive entrance fees at Union Reservoir for disabled veterans. In response to that request, staff did review relevant fees at other reservoir facilities in the Front Range area, as well as we also did some research on fees at recreational centers. So we did find that the majority of the reservoir facilities in the Front Range area do waive entrance fees for the disabled veterans. But we did find that none of the recreational centers actually did. So with that, part of the issue that we're looking at is we do often get requests from lots of individuals for waiving fees for a variety of things around the community. So as we were developing this, we are raising the question of whether the city should evaluate or develop criteria for evaluating these requests to waive fees, whether it's an entrance fee for our Union Reservoir or facility, or reduced fees for rental facilities at shelters, etc. So with this, we did discuss this at the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board last night, and the board the majority voted in support of waiving the entrance fees for disabled veterans. They did want to stick to the very specific criteria of having both the ID and the license plate to ensure that the fee waiver is applied to the correct parties. With that, they did raise a concern that they want to ensure that this doesn't necessarily spread to all of our other facilities, and not just for this group, but maybe for some others who may have some more requests. Excuse me. So with that, with this item, staff have a couple of questions. One, whether council would like staff to evaluate criteria for addressing or at least evaluating these types of requests. And number 2, we do have an attached resolution if council is interested in waiving the fees at the entrance fee at Union Reservoir for the disabled veterans. I do want to note we do have an error in the actual ordinance. There's 2 locations on page 1, line 16. Right now it currently says disabled veterans license plate or ID, and it should be and. And it's also located on line 2 of page 2. So if the council is interested in this item, the resolution would need to be amended. So with that, if you have any questions or direction for staff, thanks.
Councilmember Levison?
Have we had any of these requests come up? I mean, I don't remember anything else on my time on council since '07.
As far as disabled veterans, this is the only request that, since I've been here, that I've received. But when this request came in, staff who've been at the city longer have said that over time we do receive a variety of requests for either waiving or reducing fees for a variety of groups, not necessarily just this one.
But I also remember that council had a discussion, maybe, I don't want to say 2 to 3, 4 years ago, to offer returning veterans a 1-year pass to the rec center, and we did it as a one-off without staff analyzing and studying and everything. So, I think that it seems like something that might happen once every 7 or 8 years, to the level that we have an interested resident who brings an item forward. We've appropriately shuttled it to our Citizens Advisory Board. They're okay with it. And I think it's just a small way for one facility only that we give some benefit to disabled veterans that have both the license plate and an ID card. It's like we're making it harder to get into Union recreational area than it is to go and drop off your leaves down at Martin Street. So I think that's kind of an appropriate level of scrutiny to have 2 forms of proof with you. And I prefer not to overstudy this piece and just take them one at a time. And council then also has the flexibility to wave the magic wand whenever we want to, as we have done in the past.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I would agree with Councilmember Levison on that part. This is, I have no problem with this resolution. In fact, I will move the amendments. So on page 1, line 16, strike or and then add and. And then page 2, line 2, strike or and put and in there. That's the first motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's vote on the amended motion. Okay, that passes 7-0. Councilmember Santos?
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. And with that, I would move resolution 2015-25.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. Okay, that passes 7-0.
Mayor Coombs, your next item is general business, disposition of open space, granting conservation easements on the balance and future open space properties, and Kim Sugar is also here to make that presentation.
Good evening. On February 10th, City Council directed staff to comply with the city's disposition of open space ordinance as outlined in Chapter 14.2 of the Municipal Code in the consideration of granting conservation easements on existing open space properties that currently do not have easements. There are approximately 10 of those parcels that are identified in the light green area. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board held 2 special public meetings, the first on February 2nd and the second on March 9th to discuss this item. After public comment and prep discussion, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board came to a unanimous recommendation for City Council to support the issuance of conservation easements on city open space properties that currently do not have those conservation easements. Currently, there's 10 of them, and so staff is, if council is supportive of this item, it will probably take approximately 12 months to complete them. Part of it is identifying the appropriate partner to grant the conservation easement to. We have a variety of different properties with different values and interests, so there are a variety of different groups. We have started having some potential conversation, as well as in granting the easements. We'll have to develop the appropriate legal documents and all the background real estate information that needs to accompany that. So that is why it could take up to 12 months for this to be completed. And with that, if you have any questions.
No questions, but I think we should work towards this goal. Councilmember Levison?
I agree with you, Mayor Coombs. If we go down this path, I would recommend that we start looking at the properties right around Union Reservoir, since there are many small ones and a couple of large ones, and it just seems that that's the biggest concentration. That might be my suggestion, to maybe start there. And then I know that we're going to be working with the update for Dickens Park, and so maybe in the process of that, that would be a priority when we're looking at all the different items we have for flood recovery. But I really think that to start around Union Reservoir would make the most sense.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I have really no issues with this at all. My only concern is that I would, when we go for the conservation easements, that we are the lead person, lead organization, city, where we have a majority of the control over those conservation easements. That I just want to say that just for the record. Anybody want to move this, or I will? Fine, I move option 1.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. Okay, that passes 7-0. Okay, now it's time for final call, public invited to be heard. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to come speak at this time? I guess seeing no one, I'll close final call, public invited to be heard. So now it's time for mayor and council comments. Councilmember Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. It seems there's been a lot of confusion recently surrounding our ordinance for mobile vending. What is allowed, what isn't allowed, and why. And so I would like to make a motion that our city staff bring to us just for discussion that ordinance, so we can take a look at it and clear up any sort of anything that's not clear. Study session be fine.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Let's vote on that. Okay, that passes 7-0.
I also, of course, want to have my business of the week, which this week would be Ace Hardware. Excellent place to go if you're spring cleaning. It's at 1727 Main Street. It's family owned and very customer friendly. And so if you're busy with your spring cleaning, stop by Ace Hardware for supplies. I also want to thank the people who came last night to our forum that we had on mental health. I thought the staff did a great job in presenting, although the woman who kept walking behind me hurt my neck. But other than that, it was wonderful. There were some things that were brought up that were action items that we might want to talk about as we go forward. There was a man who has contacted me before about how physical fitness is part of his treatment for his mental illness, and if there could be some sort of no-cost recreation for those folks. Also, the need for a walk-in clinic for mental health here in Longmont. That was another one. Those were the two big ones that I took away from last night, but I'm sure there'll be others as the discussion continues. But I'm glad we had it. I'm hopeful we'll go forward and make some adjustments.
Councilmember. Thank you, Mayor Coombs. Well, last Saturday, the second annual sticker shock campaign conducted by the Longmont Youth Council happened at 5 different stores here in Longmont. Would like to have 5 businesses of the week this time, where the liquor stores that participated in this educational effort to make sure that people are aware of the consequences of providing alcohol to underage youth. So first was Lucky's Liquor, Longmont Liquors, Vino Wine and Spirits, Sportsman's Liquor, Sunnyvale Liquors, and P&S Liquor all participated in this effort. I know that some of them actually preferred not to have the youth in there, so the materials were dropped off as opposed to actually applying the stickers to the multi-packs of alcohol. And while I was unable to attend because I was in a darkened room with somebody poking in my eye, Councilmember Levison and Mayor Coombs did attend a couple of these, and I really do appreciate them stepping in to cover the bases there. Thank you.
Councilmember Bagley. Thanks, Mayor Coombs. And I hope I don't embarrass the Times call, but I announced this morning that I was going to be running for council again, and I did. But I don't know if I can run now. Yeah, the council, the Times call got it wrong. The reality is I never assured my constituents I was only going to serve 1 term. Ever. I don't know where that came from. Check your recording. And what is more accurately stated is after I served for a year or 2, people said, "Are you going to run again?" And I told them no. Not my constituents, my friends, family, and my supporters. And so today, the Times Call announced that I had given my word that I would only serve 1 term. Now people are saying I broke my word. And I need to decide whether or not I'm going to be viewed, true or not, as a man of my word or a typical rat bag politician. So don't know what I'm going to do now, Times Call. So I've got a family and a business here in town, and I can't afford to be viewed as someone who's unethical, which is what I'm being called. So don't know what I'm going to do at this point. But I serve at the will of the people. It's a part-time job, and I'm not willing to sacrifice my family or my integrity for that. So I don't want to fight with people who got inked by the barrel, but I don't know what I'm going to do now. But I refuse to be seen as someone who is dishonest.
Wow. Councilmember Christensen.
Oh dear. Well, that's kind of shocking. Frankly, I don't see you as somebody who's dishonest, and I doubt that many people do. So I hope you will consider running. I was just going to comment on the business of the week. They also have complete Lefse supplies and Krumkage and Norwegian waffles. It's the only place in town that provides, Ace Hardware is the only place in town that provides Scandinavian items, which I appreciate. Councilwoman Bonnie Finley and I and Mayor Coombs, and were you there? Last night at the, I'm sorry, at the mental health forum. Okay. Anyway, that was a very useful forum, but I do think that one of the things that we need to do as a community is really, wherever you go, be supportive of people who have the courage to speak up about mental illness with themselves and with others, because this isn't just a problem for professionals to deal with. This is a problem that we need to deal with our churches. We need to deal with our family, friends, every group that you have. It's everybody's job to be supportive and helpful and to notice things and try to help in any way that you can, because everybody knows somebody who's having problems. Every one of us has had some kind of contact with this, with ourselves or with our family and friends. And it's a problem that has existed from the beginning of time, and it won't go away, but it will be made better if we stop stigmatizing people and start being a little more open-hearted with each other. Thank you.
Councilmember Levison?
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to congratulate the Youth Council. I helped put stickers on with them at Longmont Liquor, and they seem to have a really good time. And I know that we've also had police officers who accompanied the students and adults on Saturday, and I want to thank the chief for assigning an officer, because I think it meant a lot for the kids. I think it's a good example of community policing. Also, a little bit different context that many of us have interaction with the police officer. So I think that was a very positive thing. And I was with two staff members this morning at Sportsman's Liquor, and not only were they friendly and supportive of the project, but they have a really good supply of local distilled and items and from Colorado, and including some made here in Longmont, and a lot of the craft beers. So they really like to provide people an opportunity to buy stuff that's made locally in the state of Colorado. So that's something I didn't know about that particular business. The other thing I'd like to report on is a meeting I attended last week with Linda Kopecki, one of our staff members, it was a cross-site visit in Jacksonville, Florida, with the National League of Cities grant on early childhood educational alignment. We had a really interesting site visit to a center that trains coaches who work with the people that are the caregivers and teachers of these very little tiny tots, everything from infants up to preschoolers. And it was a really amazing system that the state of Florida had developed for professional coaches to make sure these folks that sometimes because they're very low wage workers, they're not college educated, they're straight out of high school, and they've done an amazing job bringing up the professional development and awareness of these folks who take care of very young children, to make sure they're interacting with them in a positive way, speaking with them in a way where they're getting them engaged, asking the kind of right questions and getting conversation and some early learning. So that was very productive. I mentioned this also in the context that two of the National League of Cities staff are going to be coming to Longmont at the end of the month to visit, and we're trying to set up a few meetings, and one of which I'd like to propose to council that we have a dinner meeting with staff prior to the council meeting on the 28th, and they'll give us a little bit of an update about what's happening with the grant and what our next steps are. So I'd like to work with Harold to set that meeting up, and then perhaps a proclamation, because I believe April is month of the child, or early childhood education month, and see if we can have a proclamation. Thanks.
Councilman Santos.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. Well, it was nice to see Alfred Dork come to the council meeting. He mentioned his student council, and for those of you that don't know, he was the, and I hope I'm not getting this incorrect, president of the student council at his school. And the school changed the rules and gave them term limits. So while he was gearing up for his run and probably potential re-election to the school board, he couldn't. It was a school board. But knowing and I kind of wish he was still here, knowing the Dwork family, my wife's known them for years, but seeing Alfred take something that was so negative for him and really just, hurt him badly, and turn something into something great. So I wish him and the Youth for the Earth all the best. Well, I was unable to attend last night's function, but I talked to Luke Grobe, who is the Reverend Luke Grobe at the United Church of Christ, and they had their vigil, and he asked that I get in contact with Dan Benavides, and so they got together. Dan sent a nice email that he would be attending that. Just seeing all, and I thank the United Church of Christ for hosting that event, and all the other churches and temples and everybody that was there. Thank you for doing that. Out of something very tragic, hopefully, some good will come out, and I'm sure it will, because this is Longmont. Some good will come out regarding mental health, but not only mental health, but looking out for each other, just people, no labels. That's what I hope that, besides the mental health aspect of that we just take and look at each other and say, we're only here for a short period of time. How can I help my fellow human? I don't want to say man, because I don't want to get anybody upset. Man or woman. To what Councilmember Bagley said, I've talked to other people about whether they should run for council, and I've talked to potential mayors and past mayors and council members about whether or not they want to run and what have you. This is not a glamorous job. In fact, reading that article this morning, Councilmember Moore asked me, he goes, "Wow, you only got a 2-year term, Councilmember Santos." I was listening to that article as well. That it was apparently 4 members of council were up for re-election, but it lists 5 members of council. I didn't know that my at-large seat was for a 2-year stint. Yeah, exactly. So, those that have ink, Councilmember Bagley and other members of council, sometimes you just have to correct them when they're wrong. And I actually made a phone call today and said, you know what, this is incorrect. Basically looking at the clerk's website, you would have seen that every 2 years the mayor's always up. There's always 3 other members of council, total of 4. So, as I'm sure some people would like me to be off council here real soon, you guys are stuck with me until 2017.
Well, I had the pleasure today to go and present to Department of Natural Resources a Colorado Resiliency Action Plan that I've been working on with a number of months with a lot of other people from all over the state. There was Karen Wykenot was the MC of this presentation today, and there was mayors from communities all over Colorado, including Joe from Nederland and the mayor from Steamboat Springs. And we worked on a number of different aspects. I was kind of assigned to the community health aspect related to climate change or disasters and things like that. But anyway, we put together a report that was generated basically from the cities across the whole Colorado that addressed these issues, and then furnished it to the state. Now, the state's working on a Colorado Climate Action Plan, basically from the top down, but we thought we would do something through CML from the bottom up, and so we finished our report and made the presentation to the Department of Natural Resources today. It went really well, and so anyway, that was a tough job that Sandy talked me into taking, because a lot of, drive down to Denver, 6-hour meeting, all day Saturday. So, but I think, some good could come out of that. And I think it's good that the communities are cohesive and together and worked on this big plan as a unit. And I think it's more effective because then you get buy-in from the bottom up instead of from the state just saying, here's the plan from the top down. So we hope that they, take some of the work that we did and fold it into their plan. It kind of goes on to what Joan was asking for, that we've been working on these issues. So anyway, I just wanted to say it's been a fun job, and a lot of hard work, and it was nice to hand off that report today to the state. And I guess with that, City Manager, any remarks?
No comments, Mayor, Council.
Okay, City Attorney, any remarks?
No comments, Mayor.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned.